Everyone at the luxury restaurant went silent when the wheelchair rolled in. The man sitting in it didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even lift his head. He looked completely paralyzed. A waiter leaned closer and whispered to another staff member. Probably some rich, disabled guy. Put him in the corner. So they did. They pushed him to the worst table in the restaurant, right beside the kitchen door, where plates clattered, chefs shouted, and hot steam blew into his face. No one cared. Until a black woman stood up, walked across the room, and said quietly, "No, he doesn't belong here." The manager frowned. "Ma'am, this is not your concern." She stepped closer to the wheelchair, gently held the handles, and changed his seat. No one in that room knew. They had just moved the most dangerous man in Korea, and someone was about to pay for the humiliation. Velour 88 was not just a restaurant. It was a place where power sat quietly behind wine glasses, the kind of place where billionaires didn't show off. They simply existed. Soft golden lights floated from the ceiling. The piano played something slow and elegant. Waiters moved like shadows, silent and precise. Everything about the place whispered luxury. And at table 17, Maya Johnson sat alone. She wore a simple black dress, no flashy jewelry, no expensive handbag, just calm confidence. But her eyes told another story. They were observant, careful, like someone used to reading danger. Maya wasn't born into wealth. She wasn't part of the elite crowd around her. 3 years ago, she was working 2 jobs just to pay rent. As she had moved across countries chasing opportunity and faced rejection after rejection, people underestimated her, ignored her, sometimes humiliated her. But she endured. Tonight, she finally had something to celebrate. Her company had just closed a major logistics deal. It was her first big success. Her boss had offered congratulations, but she knew something else. She earned it. Every sleepless night, every insult, every closed door. She ordered a simple dinner and quietly looked around the restaurant. A couple celebrating anniversary. A group of businessmen laughing loudly. A politician shaking hands with a wealthy investor. Everyone looked powerful. Everyone looked comfortable. Except her. But she didn't mind. She wasn't here to impress anyone. She was here to breathe. That's when the door opened, and everything changed. And 2 waiters pushed him inside. The wheelchair rolled slowly across the polished floor. The man sitting in it looked calm, too calm. His posture was straight. His suit was expensive but understated. His face sharp, emotionless. But his body didn't move, not even slightly. His hands rested lifelessly on his lap. His eyes were lowered, distant. One waiter whispered quietly, "Why bring him here? This isn't a hospital." The other smirked. "Just park him somewhere." They stopped near the host desk. The manager glanced at him briefly, just 1 second, then looked away. "Put him near the kitchen," he said casually. "He won't complain." And that was it. No welcome, no respect, no dignity. They pushed him across the restaurant, past the premium tables, past the window seating, all the way to the back, right beside the kitchen door, and the worst spot. Every time the door swung open, heat burst out. Chefs shouted, plates clanged, oil sizzled. It wasn't meant for guests. It was meant for storage. They parked him there, no menu, no water, nothing. Then they walked away. A few minutes passed. Guests noticed him. Some stared. Some ignored him. But one table began laughing. 3 businessmen in expensive suits. One leaned back and said loudly, "Imagine paying this much to sit there." Another chuckled. "He probably can't even taste food." The third added, "Or complain." They laughed. The man in the wheelchair didn't react. Not even a blink, like he didn't hear or didn't care. A waiter passed by carrying soup. He accidentally splashed a few drops near the man's sleeve. He glanced down, shrugged, and walked away. No apology, nothing. Maya watched everything. Her fork stopped mid-air. Her chest tightened. She tried to ignore it. It wasn't her business. She told herself that. But then something else happened. A busboy placed dirty plates on the wheelchair man's table, thinking it was unused. He stacked them carelessly, sauce dripping, napkins crumpled. The man still didn't move, still didn't speak, still sat silently. That's when Maya put her fork down. She stood up, calmly, no anger, just quiet determination. She walked across the restaurant. The manager noticed immediately. "Yes, ma'am? Is there a problem?" She pointed toward the wheelchair. "Yes." The manager followed her gaze, then sighed. "That table is occupied." Maya replied softly, "That's not a table." The manager forced a polite smile. "We're fully booked tonight." She looked at him. You gave him the worst seat because he can't complain." The manager's smile disappeared. "Ma'am, please return to your table." Maya didn't move. "He's a guest." The manager lowered his voice. "And you're interfering." Maya stepped past him. The room grew quiet. Guests turned to watch. She walked behind the wheelchair. For the first time, the man lifted his eyes. They met hers, dark, sharp, observant, not weak, not helpless. Something about those eyes felt dangerous. But she didn't hesitate. She gently grabbed the wheelchair handles. "I'm moving him!" Gasps filled the restaurant. The manager rushed forward. "You cannot touch another guest," Maya replied calmly. "Then stop me." And she pushed the wheelchair across the entire restaurant. She stopped near the window, the best table in Velour 88. Soft lighting, quiet space. On city skyline visible through glass. She positioned the wheelchair carefully, adjusted the table, moved the glass closer, placed the napkin gently. Then she said quietly, "You deserve better." She turned to leave. But something strange happened. The man's finger moved, just slightly, barely noticeable. But Maya saw it. Her eyes widened. Before she could react, the front door opened, and 3 men entered. Everything changed again. They walked in like they owned the room. Black suits, cold expressions, sharp eyes. They scanned the restaurant, then walked straight toward the wheelchair. The manager stiffened. Something about them felt dangerous. They stopped beside the man. One bowed slightly. "Sir, we apologize for the delay." The entire restaurant froze. "Sir?" Another man wiped the soup stain from his sleeve. And the third spoke quietly into an earpiece. "Chairman is seated." The word echoed. Chairman. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The businessmen who were laughing earlier went silent. The manager's face turned pale. Maya slowly turned, confused. The man in the wheelchair lifted his eyes again. This time, they weren't empty. They were cold, calculating, powerful. And suddenly, the entire restaurant felt smaller. The suited man looked at the manager. "Who placed him near the kitchen?" Silence. The manager stammered. I didn't know." "You didn't ask." The words were calm, but terrifying. Then the suited man looked at Maya. "And who moved him?" Maya raised her hand slightly. "I did." The men exchanged glances. Then they bowed. "Thank you." The entire restaurant gasped. No one understood what was happening, but one thing became clear. That the man in the wheelchair was not ordinary, and the night was just beginning. The entire restaurant stayed frozen. No one moved. No one spoke. The 3 men in black suits were still standing beside the wheelchair, their heads slightly lowered, a gesture of respect that didn't match the situation, because the man they were bowing to hadn't moved at all. He still looked paralyzed, still silent, still motionless, but now the air around him felt heavy, dangerous, important. Maya slowly stepped back, unsure what she had just stepped into. The manager wiped sweat from his forehead. I apologize, sir. We didn't realize." One of the suited men raised his hand. Apology accepted, temporarily. The manager swallowed hard. The suited man then looked at the waiter who had splashed soup earlier. Did you clean him? The waiter froze. I didn't think... That's correct, the suited man replied calmly. You didn't think. The waiter's face went pale. The businessmen who mocked earlier quietly lowered their heads. No one wanted attention anymore. The balance of power had shifted, and everyone felt it. Maya quietly turned toward her table. She didn't want to get involved. She had only moved him out of kindness. That's all. But before she reached her seat, a calm voice spoke behind her. Miss. She stopped. One of the suited men approached her. Our chairman would like you to stay. She hesitated. I don't think that's necessary. He insists. Maya looked back at the man in the wheelchair. His eyes were already on her, watching, observing, not threatening, but intense. She slowly returned. The suited man pulled a chair for her. Please sit. She sat across from him, and for a moment, silence filled the space. The piano music continued in the background. Waiters moved carefully now, almost nervously. Then the suited man spoke again. Our chairman rarely meets people. Maya nodded slightly. I didn't do anything special. You did, he replied. You saw him when everyone else ignored him. She glanced at the man. His eyes didn't leave hers. Then something unexpected happened. His finger moved again, a small twitch, then another. Maya leaned forward slightly. You can move? The suited man smiled faintly. Limited mobility. Temporary? She asked. We hope so. Maya felt a strange relief. She didn't know why. Maybe because seeing someone treated badly, only to learn they were trapped in their own body, felt heavier. She spoke softly. I'm glad you moved him. The suited man tilted his head. How you moved him? She smiled faintly. Then I'm glad I did. Within minutes, everything changed. The staff suddenly became extremely careful. Fresh tablecloth, premium cutlery, best wine. The chef personally supervised the dishes. The manager kept bowing repeatedly. Guests whispered among themselves. Who is he? Some billionaire? Chairman of what? No idea. But those men looked dangerous. The businessmen who mocked earlier quietly paid their bill and tried to leave, but one of the suited men stepped in their path. Leaving already? They froze. We have a meeting. The suited man smiled politely. Sit. They sat immediately, fear visible on their faces. Maya watched everything. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just wealth. This was power. Controlled power. Silent power. She leaned slightly closer to the suited man. Who is he? The man replied carefully. He prefers to remain private. Is he important? The suited man smiled. Very. Dinner arrived. The waiter placed the plate gently, but his hands were shaking. He almost dropped the fork. The suited man noticed. You're nervous. The waiter swallowed. Sorry, sir. The suited man leaned closer. Relax. He doesn't punish mistakes, only disrespect. The waiter nodded quickly, then left. Maya absorbed the words. Punish, not complain. Punish. That word stayed in her mind. She looked again at the man in the wheelchair. He still hadn't spoken, but somehow, he controlled the room, without saying anything, without moving, just presence. That's when Maya noticed something else. A small scar near his collar, clean, surgical, not accidental, like a bullet wound. Her eyes narrowed slightly. This man had a past, a dangerous one. Just when the tension started easing, another guest arrived, a loud, arrogant man in his 50s, gold watch, expensive suit, confident walk. He didn't notice the atmosphere change. He sat at the table beside them. Then he frowned. Why's there a wheelchair here? No one answered. He continued. "This is a premium section. Move him." The entire restaurant froze again. The manager rushed over. "Sir, please lower your voice." "I'm serious," the man said loudly. "This is disturbing." Maya's eyes widened. He had no idea. The suited men looked at each other. The wheelchair man remained still, silent, watching. The arrogant guest waved his hand dismissively. "I don't care who he is. Put him somewhere else." The manager trembled. "Sir, please." The man scoffed. "Are you afraid of a cripple?" Silence, and heavy silence. Then the suited man leaned slightly forward. "What did you say?" The arrogant guest smirked. "You heard me." Maya felt the tension explode. She looked at the man in the wheelchair. His eyes changed, cold, sharp, deadly calm, and for the first time, he lifted his hand, just slightly. The suited men straightened instantly. Order received. One suited man approached the arrogant guest. "Sir, we recommend you apologize." The man laughed. "Or what?" The suited man smiled faintly. "Or you'll regret it." The guest leaned back. "I own 3 hotels. Who are you?" The suited man pulled out his phone, made a call. 10 seconds. He ended it, then said calmly, "You owned 3 hotels." The man frowned. "What?" The suited man looked at him. "They were just purchased." The guest laughed. "Impossible." His phone rang. He answered, and his expression changed, then changed again. Color drained from his face. "What do you mean, sold?" Silence. He slowly lowered the phone. The suited man spoke quietly. "You're free to leave now." The man stood up, trembling. He looked at the wheelchair. Realization hit. Fear followed. He bowed quickly. "I apologize." The man in the wheelchair didn't react, didn't blink, didn't move. The guest left immediately. The restaurant was silent again. Maya exhaled slowly. She had never seen power like this. Instant, effortless, terrifying. Maya looked at him again. "You didn't even speak." The suited man replied, "He doesn't need to." She studied his face. "Why were you testing people?" The suited man paused, then answered honestly, "Because after the accident, many people changed." Maya understood. People respect strength, ignore weakness, and he had seen the truth. She spoke softly. "I'm sorry." For the first time, the man's eyes softened, just slightly. He looked at her. Longer. Then something surprising happened. His hand moved again, slowly, toward the table, toward her. Maya's heart skipped. His finger tapped once, lightly, like a thank you. She smiled, and in that moment, a silent bond formed between a woman who showed kindness and a man the world feared. After the arrogant businessman left, the restaurant never returned to normal. Conversation dropped to whispers. Waiters walked carefully, like they were stepping around explosives. No one laughed anymore. No one stared openly. Everyone understood something powerful was sitting near the window. And it wasn't just wealth. Maya sat quietly across from him, still trying to process everything. And she had walked into this restaurant alone. Now she was sitting across from someone who could buy companies in minutes, someone who didn't speak, yet controlled everything. The suited man poured water into Maya's glass. "Our chairman appreciates calm people." She smiled faintly. "I'm not calm. I'm just trying not to panic." The suited man almost smiled. "That's calm enough." Maya looked at the man again. His eyes remained on her, not uncomfortable, just observant, like he was studying her, trying to understand. And strangely, she didn't feel afraid. She felt trusted. The other 2 suited men stepped away to take calls. For the first time, it was just Maya, the interpreter, and the silent man. The suited man leaned slightly closer. He wants to ask you something. Maya nodded. What? The suited man looked at the wheelchair, and then back at her. Why did you help him? She blinked. That's the question? Yes. She thought for a moment, then answered honestly. Because no one else did. The suited man translated softly. The man in the wheelchair watched her carefully, then his fingers moved again. 2 small taps. The suited man nodded. He says, most people look away. Maya sighed. I know. She paused, then added quietly, I've been invisible before. That caught his attention. His eyes sharpened slightly. The suited man translated. Maya continued, when you're struggling, people don't see you. They judge you, ignore you, underestimate you. She smiled faintly. I guess I recognized it. The man's eyes softened again. For the first time, there was something human in them, something warm. Across the restaurant, 2 guests whispered. I think I know who he is. No. Impossible. I saw him once in Seoul. Who? The man leaned closer. Kang. The other froze. Kang. What? Kang Min-jae. Silence. The second guest's face drained. That's not possible. He disappeared. The first nodded. Exactly. The name spread slowly, table to table. Whispers moved like wind. Kang Min-jae, a name that wasn't spoken loudly, because everyone who knew it understood. Power, influence, danger. Maya noticed the change in the room. People looked at him differently now, with fear, respect, caution. She leaned toward the suited man. Is that his name? The man paused, then nodded once. Yes. Maya repeated quietly. Kang. Min-jae. The man in the wheelchair looked at her. No reaction. But something about the air confirmed it. That was him. The suited man spoke quietly. But you should understand, he wasn't always like this. Maya listened carefully. 2 years ago, he survived an assassination attempt. Her eyes widened. Assassination? Yes. The suited man continued. His convoy was attacked. Professional team, military weapons. Maya felt a chill. What happened? He protected someone. Who? The suited man hesitated, then said quietly, his younger sister. The room suddenly felt heavier. He took the bullet? 3. Maya inhaled sharply. He survived, but spinal damage. Temporary paralysis. Her chest tightened. That's terrible. The suited man nodded. But the world didn't know. We kept it hidden. Why? Because enemies would attack again. Maya understood. Weakness invites predators. The suited man continued. So tonight, he came out publicly for the first time. Maya looked at him. And he chose to come here, to test the world, to see how people treat someone powerless. Her heart softened. She spoke quietly. You didn't deserve what happened earlier. For the first time, Kang Min-jae blinked slowly, a silent acknowledgement. Just as the mood settled, something else happened. The restaurant owner arrived, an older man in an expensive suit. He looked annoyed. What's going on? Why is service delayed? The manager whispered nervously. Sir, we have a VIP guest. The owner glanced at Kang, then frowned. This is the VIP? The manager froze. Yes, sir. The owner scoffed. He's not even ordering anything. The suited men looked up. Danger flickered. The owner continued. We're losing paying customers. Move him to private room. The entire restaurant went silent again. The manager whispered desperately, Sir, please. But the owner stepped forward. You can't block premium tables. He looked directly at Kang. You'll be more comfortable elsewhere. Maya's jaw tightened. He didn't understand. He still saw weakness. He still underestimated. The suited men waited for the signal. Kang's fingers moved slowly. One tap. Decision made. One suited man stepped forward. "Sir, this restaurant is under evaluation." The owner frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means ownership is changing." The owner laughed. "I built this place." The suited man replied calmly, "You built it. We're buying it." The owner scoffed. "Impossible." The suited man checked his phone, then looked up. "It's done." The owner froze. "What?" "You sold 62% shares last year through your holding company." The owner's face changed. You can't." "We just acquired the holding company." Silence. The owner's phone rang. He answered, listened. His hand trembled. He slowly lowered the phone. You bought my company?" The suited man nodded. "Yes." The owner looked at Kang. Fear replaced arrogance. "I apologize." No response, no movement. But the message was clear. Power had shifted again. Maya leaned back slowly. This wasn't just wealth. This wasn't just influence. This was organized power, calculated, controlled, dangerous. She whispered, "You're Mafia." The suited man didn't deny it. "He prefers the term businessman." Maya smiled slightly. "Of course." She looked at Kang. "You let them humiliate you, just to see who people really are." His finger tapped once. Yes. Her chest tightened. That required strength, more strength than fighting back, and to sit silently and watch, to see truth, to measure hearts. She realized something else. He wasn't just testing the restaurant, he was testing the world, and she was the only one who passed. Dinner continued, quietly, respectfully. The staff now treated them like royalty. But Maya's mind was elsewhere. She kept thinking about his story. The bullets, the paralysis, the silence, the test. She looked at him again. "You must feel lonely," the suited man translated. Kang's eyes paused, then lowered slightly. That was answer enough. Maya spoke softly. "You're not invisible anymore." He looked back at her, longer, warmer, then, slowly. His hand lifted, higher than before, just slightly, but enough. Maya smiled. "You're getting stronger." The suited man nodded. "Yes." But Kang didn't look at his hand. He looked at her, because tonight, she wasn't just the woman who changed his seat. She was the first person who saw him, not as power, not as weakness, but as human. And that changed everything. The restaurant had finally become calm again, but the calm didn't last long, because outside, 3 black SUVs stopped. The suited men noticed immediately. Their expressions changed. One touched his earpiece. "Unscheduled visitors." The other moved slightly closer to Kang Min-jae's wheelchair. Protective. Alert. Maya sensed the shift instantly. "What's wrong?" The suited man answered quietly. "Enemies." Her heart skipped. The front door opened. 5 men walked in. Not dressed like businessmen, not dressed like security. They looked sharp, cold, dangerous. One of them smiled when he saw Kang. Well, the rumors were true." The entire restaurant froze again. The man walked closer, slowly, confidently. "You finally came out. Chairman Kang." Maya felt the tension explode. This wasn't humiliation anymore. This was confrontation. The leader stopped in front of Kang. He looked down at him, then laughed softly. "You really can't move." No reaction. Kang remained still, silent. The man continued, "I should thank you. Your disappearance gave us many opportunities." The suited men stood ready, but Kang's finger moved slightly. "Don't act." They obeyed. The man leaned closer. "You know, people said you were dead." He smiled. "I wish they were right." Maya's chest tightened. This wasn't random. This man knew him, personally. The suited man whispered to Maya, "Rival group." Her stomach dropped. Of course. Power creates enemies, and weakness attracts them. The rival leader looked around. So this is where the great Kang Min-jae hides, in a wheelchair. Some guests quietly left, others stayed frozen. The rival smirked. You used to control half the port routes. Now you can't even control your hands. Silence. Heavy. Then he said the worst thing. Pathetic. Maya clenched her fist, but Kang remained calm, still, watching, waiting. The rival turned toward Maya. And who are you? She stayed calm. Just a guest. He smirked. You moved him, right? She didn't answer. He leaned closer. You're kind. But kindness is dangerous around men like him. The suited men stiffened. The rival continued. Because when he falls, you'll fall too. Maya looked straight at him. He hasn't fallen. The rival laughed. He's in a wheelchair. She replied calmly. That's not falling. Silence. Kang's eyes shifted toward her. Something changed, and the rival shook his head. Loyal already. Interesting. Then he turned back to Kang. You know, I could end this now. The suited men stepped forward, but Kang's finger moved again. Stop. They froze. The rival leaned closer. You can't even defend yourself. And that's when it happened. Kang Min-jae's hand lifted, higher than before, slowly, controlled. The rival's smile faded. Then, Kang's fingers curled, not weak, not shaking, strong. The room froze. Maya's eyes widened. He wasn't fully paralyzed anymore. The rival stepped back slightly. You're recovering? Kang's eyes locked onto him. Cold, sharp, terrifying. Then something even more shocking happened. Kang's voice came out, low, rough, but clear. Did you enjoy my silence? The entire restaurant gasped. Maya's heart pounded. He spoke. The rival's face drained. You can talk. Kang continued slowly. I needed people to show themselves. The suited men smiled faintly. Plan revealed. The rival stepped back. You were pretending? Kang's eyes darkened. Partially. The room felt electric. Everything made sense. The silence, the observation, the humiliation. It was all a test. And now, it was over. Kang's voice remained calm. You attacked my convoy. The rival swallowed. No proof. Kang blinked once. One suited man handed him a tablet. He tapped the screen slowly. The tablet was turned toward the rival. Video footage, clear. The rival's men, the ambush, gunfire. The rival's face went pale. Kang spoke again. I waited 2 years. The suited men stepped forward. Doors closed. No one leaving now. Kang continued. You thought I was weak. The rival tried to speak. Kang lifted his finger. Silence. Tonight, I returned. Security surrounded the rival group. Not violent, just inevitable. The rival's confidence disappeared. You can't do this here, Kang replied calmly. I already did. Police sirens sounded outside. The rival froze. The suited man smiled. Authorities received evidence. The rival realized. It was over. He was escorted out. Quietly. Finished. The restaurant slowly breathed again. Guests whispered in disbelief. The manager stood frozen. The staff watched in awe. Maya sat quietly, heart still racing. Kang leaned back slightly, tired, but calm. He looked at her. For the first time. Fully. Thank you. His voice was still rough, but sincere. Maya smiled softly. You don't need to thank me. I do. He paused. You moved more than my seat. Her chest tightened, and they sat in silence, peaceful, warm. After everything, Kang slowly reached forward, his hand steadier now. He pushed a card across the table. Maya looked at it. No title, just a name, Kang Min-jae, and a number. If you ever need help, she smiled. I think you're the one recovering? He almost smiled. Still, powerful. She nodded. I can see that. She stood. The entire staff bowed. This time, not out of fear, out of respect. Maya turned to leave, but Kang spoke once more. Will I see you again? She paused, then smiled gently. Yes. She walked toward the exit. Behind her, the most feared man in Korea watched quietly. The woman who changed his seat had changed his world. And for the first time in 2 years, Kang Min-jae didn't feel surrounded by enemies. He felt hope. The night ended, but their story was just beginning.